Welcome everyone to Legion Gaming. I'm your host Donnie, and as always I'm joined by my co-host Ducel.
Are you ready for some sports?
Yeah, it's a pretty exciting episode, I would say. Episode 74, our top 10 sports games. So we haven't, this isn't sort of a, we tally these up kind of thing. It's really just Ducey and I's personal top 10s.
They're going to be very different.
They'll be very different because, as I mentioned this podcast endlessly before, I'm not a fan of sports really at all. Like, I cannot sit there and watch a game. I might with buddies, but it's not something you'll find me doing at all on
Hockey
Sundays.
Live is fun.
Hockey Live is a great time. That's I was into hockey for a little bit there. So it's fun because you kind of like the anti-sports person and you have a sports person, and our lists really don't have I guess they have like some overlap, but it's interesting because our lists are still pretty different compared to like our Mega Man list or previous lists we've done.
Yeah, like I was mentioning when we were making these lists, we don't have really too many overlaps and like none in the same exact spots like we would on our other lists.
Yeah, there was one I did switch where we were the same spot, and that's because of just like constant juggling in my mind until I just committed to it. But I think this one, the one that is the same spot, makes perfect sense to me for both of us.
I think we're going to have a pretty unique episode today because there's a lot of game playing content out there on YouTube and other podcasts talking about games, and everybody seems to have this one thing in common where, like, if you are a huge video game nerd, you for some reason hate sports.
Yeah.
But they also take it to the next level where they don't even play sports games or they don't want to try. And at least you like the arcade versions of a lot of these games and are pretty competitive in all of those. So
yeah, it's interesting because there is a weird divide, and it's always been that way, at least since we were kids, where it's like if you weren't a sports fan, you didn't play sports games. It was almost like the RPG kids saying, well, you're never going to play an RPG because you're a sports kid or something like that. And it's interesting because I'm sure maybe some YouTubers out there that probably do the more objective look at those kind of things, but it's sometimes I'll see them where I'll watch a video and like they'll totally dismiss a sports game. They'll play it and just crap on it anyway because it's a sports game without really kind of like looking if there's any value there, which most of them do. Like there's a lot of crap games that will kind of talk as far as like history, but for the most part, like if you're playing like a good sports games, it's kind of hard to say it's a bad game, right?
Then there's the ones that take it too far the other way where they'll hate a sports game because it's not like realistic enough or for some reason it missed the mark on the smallest minutia of detail, and I'm like, okay, that's too far the other way. Like, just enjoy it.
We got both sides of the spectrum: the people who just crap on it for what it is, and the other people who are enthusiasts and crap on it because it doesn't have like, I don't know, maybe the helmet doesn't reflect properly or something crazy. I don't know, whatever it could be.
I was lucky growing up where I found multiple groups of friends where there were some that really enjoyed like nothing but RPGs, and they would probably turn their noses up at sports. And then I also would hang out with the quote unquote jocks, but after school we would be doing like 4-player Nightfire or something. So it was a nice balance of everything.
Yeah, and I think that's what's great. It does also be helpful for me because you were the sports proxy, like I always say, like for NASCAR and everything else. Yeah. So it's like if I maybe wasn't so keen on getting into a sports game, like I try it with you because we play multiplayer all the time, and there's a lot that I would discover. And for my list, I think when we get through it, and I think both of our lists really too, there's going to be shades of accessibility, because that's the thing for me too, is like with someone like me where I barely know the rules of sports, I'm always asking you guys, what does this mean? why is that a bad thing? It's different when I play a game and I could just easily jump into it without knowing that much about the sport.
These video games have helped me learn about the real sports too, because I never watched soccer too much growing up or even hockey, but because I played them, I learned like finally what offsides was and how they do what do you call it in hockey, the blue line. Yeah, I finally figured out what that was for just because I had to play it in the game and I kept getting penalized.
That's how I learned. Yeah, pretty much the same thing. And then like we mentioned in the launch episodes, or excuse me, the launch episode we did with NFL 2K, I had to learn what offsides was, and you had to explain. I was like, oh,
yeah,
so I can't just run over there.
Pretend there's this imaginary wall.
Yeah. So I think it'll be a pretty fun episode because it's like our tastes are different in general, but this is interesting because it's just sports and non-sports, yet we're kind of converging a list. And I think it's a pretty fun list overall, which I say a lot, but this one is a really cool list.
Yep.
Before we get to all the sports goodness, Ducey, what have you been playing?
Oh my goodness. It finally happened. I like I finished those wave of games that I did over October, and then I was sort of sitting there not knowing what to play. But luckily, right around the corner was the Outer Worlds 2.
Oh yeah, that came out right around Halloween. I think it was a few days before.
Yeah, and I'd been playing some sports games just to pass the time. I was still playing NASCAR 25. I'm almost up to the next level in my career, which is saying something for the NASCAR games that have multiple tiers. Usually I would always start them back in the day, and I would get through like maybe the first go around, the dirt racing or something like that, the lowest level. And then by the time I could level up, I would lose interest or some other game would grab my interest. So this one is I'm still sticking with it, and I'm almost into the truck series, which is where you really get the real life drivers and stuff, and I'll be going head to head with Frankie Muniz.
That'll be great.
But once Outer Worlds 2 came out, I was like, oh, finally, I have something to focus on. And man, this is a great sequel. It doesn't really do too much to follow the first one, which is fine. It's timeline wise, it's only like, I think they said 7 or 8 years later, which is crazy, but it's like in a different part of the galaxy. So you don't have to say, hey, this is the fallout from the first game. This is just something else that's happening. And I've just really enjoyed the storyline of it so far, the character you play, and the teammates you sort of gather right away. And then the gameplay mechanics itself have been really streamlined, which is surprising for an Obsidian game, because they were the ones that, like, while Fallout 4 was sort of going into an easier direction, Obsidian with like New Vegas was really trying to stick to the core that made like Fallout games what they were and RPG games what they were. And so Outer Worlds 1 was kind of sticking to that, where you were very stiff. There was shooting, but it was very much based on invisible dice rolls.
Well, and it felt like it still felt like a Fallout shooting game.
Yeah. And you couldn't do much. You could sprint, and then you just had to hope that your armor had like good evasiveness and stuff like that. But in this game, it's almost like they took the Omni movement from Black Ops 6 and they incorporated that into your fighting. So you're just running, you're sliding, you do mini mantles if you're not quite up over a ledge when you jump. There's also these boots that you get that help you double jump. And then on top of that, there's your armor that affects like if the enemy is going to hit you or not, depending on distance and all of that. Other little aspects too that have become easier are like, I know you played the first one. You remember like all the junk that you could collect that was...
I have a sort of fascination sometimes with collecting junk like that in the game, because especially if they make it useful to recycle. But yes, I do remember all the junk in that game.
So there's junk. There's like 3 levels. There's junk. There's all of that medicine or products that gave you weird little stat boosts.
Yeah.
In this one, they don't do that. They go towards your inhaler that heals you. And so every little medicine thing you collect builds up the usage of that.
Yeah, I think that's like what Prey did. Prey 2017.
Yeah.
I think it was like that, where it's like it had like a health refill system, and then your health pickups would just recharge.
Go towards
quicker.
that.
Yeah.
And then on the third type is a bunch of food and drink, where you can store that, and then if you're not in battle, you can use the food to heal instead of your inhaler. And I'm like, this makes total sense. I'm totally down for this, because in the first game, I had a lot of those weird little medicines with the stat boosts, and a lot of them did the same things, and I barely used any of them, like maybe 1% of the time.
Well, and again, that feels like it's a relic from Fallout, which it's cool to collect that stuff from Fallout, but it really sucks when you can't quickly access those items. Where it's like, all right, I have to select this chocolate bar and equip it, use it, and it refills like 5 health points. So I'm glad when it's like it's kind of like, it's nice to have that as part of like the immersion, right? Because there's like these living objects in a world, but at the same time, from a gameplay standpoint, it sucks when you can't just consolidate that in one sort of pool like this sounds like it's doing.
Yeah, back then in the first game, you had to go through these multiple menus, and then you were just like squinting at small text to see like what 3% boost this thing would get you. So I'm glad they did all of that. I'm sure there's like purists out there that are like, no, I want those like 3% boosts, but no, just give me like a fast-paced game with great story and dialogue options and all of that.
Yeah, just a complete package that's well produced, which is what this sounds like. Because I liked Outer Worlds. I wish I stuck with it, and I'm always mad at myself because, especially when you were playing through it, I really wanted to get through it, and it's just like, I was playing other games, and like I eventually want to get to it. I did buy Outer Worlds though, because it was like $15 for the whole complete package. I think it's the Spacer's Choice.
Yep.
Right. So I hope to get to that soon because I really want to play 2 after hearing all the good things about it. Then you confirmed everything I had read, which is that this was a very worthwhile sequel. It's what you'd expect as far as like sort of changing things and making them a little bit more optimal, and then changing like the gameplay systems that matter. So it sounds really good. And I heard the story is also really fun too. So I'm excited to get to that someday.
I'm also still, my fingers are crossed that there's going to be some Easter eggs here or there that like mention the first game in some way.
Yeah, some sort of tie to it.
Yeah.
I've been playing, let's see. So I've been playing Ghost of Yotei. I finally finished that after I think it was like 45 or 50 hours. And definitely a Game of the Year contender for me. I had a very satisfying end with that. I did most of these sites activities that were really, I thought most of them were really fun. Like there's a couple that aren't as enjoyable. Like I was telling you about those Sumi-E paintings. It's like a simple tracing thing on the touchpad.
Yeah, and you don't get to create your own art.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like a fun little thing, but I'd like to go back and do all the cleanup because I really did love doing all the side stuff, and there's like still a few armors I have to get. So that game was just, it met my expectations. I wasn't sure how to meet Tsushima, right? That's always the thing when you do a sequel, and I feel like this took what Tsushima did, like much like Outer Worlds 2 did, where it took everything that was great about the first game, kind of trimmed some of the fab stuff that wasn't, and just made everything a lot better. So it was fantastic. I really loved the story in this game. I was really engaged with it. I was like, for the whole like last 3 weeks, it's like every single night I'm playing Yotei on there. The other game I got through, I think I mentioned I started on the last episode, was Hell Is Us. I finally got through that. The story in that game is really something else. That's really what kept me drawn to the whole thing.
Nice.
The combat, I think I mentioned like it's just fine. Like it's just sort of like a hack and slash kind of thing. A little bit on the Souls side, which I didn't like. So I turned the combat down and just made it a lot more easier and manageable. I feel like that's the right call for this game because I just loved the lore and the world building about it. But the story was absolutely nuts. So you start out as a guy named, you find his name is Remy. He's a soldier who's sort of gone AWOL to find his parents in Hadia, which is this country torn by a civil war, and these weird beings have shown up. And they're also stuck in these big old orbs called like time loops, because the idea is like these beings are part of what they call the calamity, which is like the manifestation of like human emotions, like the bad ones. Yeah. So it's like these time loops are persistently sort of replaying these awful events throughout the Civil War that summons these things. And there's like this whole plot twist about like how this company wants to weaponize them, and that plays majorly into the whole story, right? Yeah. And then there's just this whole sort of implication about the Civil War and like the history leading up to this calamity. And I was just like totally sold in this game just because of the story. I think it was like, I think it was like 20, 25 hours. I can't really figure out. I don't know how long it was. And I feel like that's like a solid length for it. I'm curious what you'll think, Deuce, because I think the combat, I don't want to say I struggle with it, but I got kind of bored of it. So I'm curious like how you'll if you try it.
How you said it was like melee and Souls, like is there like parrying and blocking involved?
There
and
is
stuff like that.
You can, and it's pretty generous. There is stamina management, which is also what I don't like in a lot of these games, weird. Right? Yeah, but it's, like I say, if you turn it down to, I literally turned down like easy combat because I had it at a certain point.
A weird thing in Outer Worlds 2 that I noticed, I don't think there's like a weight limit for your carrying.
That's awful surprising because that's always been a thing with Fallout and those type of games, is like having an annoying weight limit to deal with, and then, especially based like on your armor and what you can carry and your defense rating.
You don't have a stamina bar for like a weight limit to affect. You can just sprint away from battles and things. I was like, whoa, this is a revelation.
Yeah, they really broke away from that. Yeah. Well, yeah, Hell Is Us. Like I said, it's a game that's worth playing. It's just, I think it's a harder game for a lot of people to get into because there is no waypoint markers or anything like that. I did find myself lost a few times. It wasn't annoyingly so. Like it's just a matter of like really looking at your notes and like kind of connecting like, oh yeah, I need to go get this switch that I saw 6 rooms ago or something like that.
Is there any what would you say, like you have to eat or drink or something to keep up stats and things like that?
There's an item that like refills your stamina immediately, like it's just food.
Yeah.
But you don't have to manage anything like that. It's really just, I wish the combat could have just been like cut and dry hack and slash without having to include like the stamina management. You have these glyphs, which are like these sort of like magical abilities that each weapon has that you can imbue with, and it's just they didn't feel like they mattered too much. Like they just didn't feel like they were effective in a lot of instances. And it seems like there were some instances where it's like one thing I did get tired of towards the end was like there's a lot of rooms where it's like just clear out all the enemies and move on. And it's like this game, it kind of rides that line of like, do you want to engage this enemy? Because on the default difficulty, it can get pretty tough. So it sucks when it forces you to clear out an entire room to get through that, right? And like I said, that was really mitigated because I turned the difficulty down. And I just felt like I tuned it to what I preferred.
That's a weird like tonal shift.
Exactly, right? So
in a game where you think it's sort of like isolation and discovery, and then it's like, here's a slaughter fest.
It is. And that's what's so great about it is like they leaned into, like you said, this sort of the discovery and exploration, which I think it does a fantastic job for doing because it goes fully boldly into like just not giving you any direction. It's just you can find these things. You have to kind of dig. You have to look at your surroundings, read the text maybe, and there's like maybe a certain connection to solve a puzzle. And then it has the combat, which they probably were like, well, we need combat in here. And
are there any guns, or it's all melee?
It's all melee, which is kind of a good thing, frankly. Like, I wouldn't want to manage guns in this game.
I'm sure it'd be like, what was it, Stalker, where you're getting shot from nowhere.
Oh god! Yeah. Luckily, I think there's only one or two long range enemies in this too, because there's not a whole lot of enemy right too. So it's like it's fine. Like I just think overall, it's a fantastically bold game, and I really loved my time with it just because the story was really unlike anything I've played in a while. And if you don't play it, I'll spoil it for you because I think it's a really cool story to talk about. There's a lot of lore steeped in there, and I was totally like just reading everything. It's like, damn, this is really in depth and more fantastic than I expected.
If it ever hits Game Pass and PS Plus, I'm probably gonna be there like day one of that.
Yeah, just to try it out.
Yeah.
I'd love to get your impression of it because it's like I think it's a game that if you get past the combat, like I said, just turn it on easy, just as low as it goes. Let go of that and just really just get lost in like the minutia of like the world building. It's really, really great. It's just the combat I think could be a hurdle for some people, and it wasn't so much for me. It was just more like I'm tired of this at this point. I just want more of the puzzles, more of the wandering, more of everything else. You know? All right, Deucey, I think it's time to play with some balls.
Okay, you can't leave people hanging like that.
I can't. So what we're talking about today is sports games. Some involve balls and others do not. So this is kind of a broader spectrum. It's not so much just traditional sports like baseball, hockey, soccer, football, etc. This is really just more broadly like including like snowboarding, skateboarding, boxing,
the Olympics.
Not anything like wrestling because that would, frankly, like my list would be a lot different with wrestling games on it. It'd probably be like a top 10 of wrestling. It's like we technically could have included it there, but also I didn't want No Mercy to be at the top with Here Comes the Pain at number 2 or something ridiculous, right?
Yeah, no. We could probably do an entire separate list of just those games.
Exactly right. I think that'd be a whole separate episode where it's just like list top 10 wrestling games.
Yeah,
that would be a hard list on its own. So I think it's fair to keep those out, and there's not like like I would almost include like Jet Grind Radio, but that's not like a sports game. That's like a sports adventure type.
You're
game.
Using sports equipment to do something.
Yeah. So these are more like just competitive in some sense.
And I kept mascot racers off of the list. Otherwise, my list would have been like a ton of Mario Kart.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, we didn't really put any racing on here too, because again, we could do a whole racing episode. Which we did a racing episode, but we could do like a top 10 racing thing.
I put some racers on here, but it was mostly ones that have like a governing body and are like official, like IndyCar, Formula One, NASCAR. They have a sanctioning,
some sort of national or international sports.
Yeah, and they have rules and that sort of thing. I didn't put Need for Speed or anything on there because, like you said, those could be an entirely different episode, like we did.
Yeah. So as far as like the history of sports, we'll kind of just take some broad strokes with it. Sports games have been around since probably at the 70s at least when they started like those tabletops. Yeah. And
that too. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Didn't your dad have like a portable football electronic game? Was that like an early 80s thing?
He had that one. People have probably seen it. I think it's called like Football 2 or something like that. And it's got these little red LED lights that light up, and like one represents the quarterback. If you pass the ball, it flickers and goes over to this other red light. And then you have to just keep running to the right and dodging red lights that are coming at you or moving around. He had a baseball version of that and a basketball version of that.
Yeah, see, so those are like the pre-Tiger Electronics kind
Yeah.
of sports games. I've played a few Atari games when I was a kid that were sports related. Like boxing was a big one when I was a kid, which we played, I'm sure, a few times. There was also baseball, and these are really simple on the Atari. So it's like I remember in baseball, you control, I think, 3 teammates at once because you kind of scroll with them.
It was like the entire outfield.
Yeah, basically, because like there was no way to switch like you could in later games.
Yeah.
And then Nintendo had a ton of famous sports games like RBR Baseball, Tecmo Bowl, Blades of Steel.
Even in the launch era, they had 10-yard fight.
Yeah, 10-yard fights. There's games like TNC Surf Design, like the surfing kind of games, right?
Skate or Die.
720.
Well, sort of.
Yeah, 720, Skate or Die. Those are all good examples. And, I played a bunch of those when I was a kid, too, just because, again, like virtual games are a lot easier to get into. And also, sometimes that's just all what friends might have had. So today we're kind of talking more about everything from like probably the NES era up until like modern times. And I think it's a pretty solid list, maybe pretty robust and varied. I think my list, for me, if you look at my list, I think it perfectly matches up with my tastes.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because it's my list. So, Deuce, I think we have a couple of sort of guest lists we had sent in too. So maybe I'll read those first before we get into ours. So we had Nick send in a list. This is from 10 to 1. So Nick has NFL Blitz at 10. He says, I always enjoy playing this at arcades. Number 9 is NBA Jam. He has great memories playing the SNES version.
Back-to-back arcade titles. Those are great.
Yeah. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 at 8. It's a classic. Tony Hawk Underground at 7. A great soundtrack and deserves a remake. Madden 2007 at 6.
Was Underground when it went kind of open world?
That was the second one to go open world.
Oh, okay.
Tony Hawk 4 was the first one. Underground was like the one where it's like they had like I don't know if Bam Majera was in the first one or not, but that's like when they did like the really urban thing and they really leaned in the open world stuff. Number 5, Wii Sports, super fun game to play. Number 4, NHL 13. Number 3, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, a fantastic remake.
Oh yeah.
Number 2, Madden 2004. And number 1 of all time for Nick, ESPN NFL 2K5.
Yeah, for sure.
That one, I think, you can't. It's hard to argue ESPN 2K5.
I still have never played that one.
You never played this all this time?
The accolades that it got. Like, I was very much a Madden kid back then.
Oh, I know you were. I'm just shocked you hadn't played this one at least.
Yeah, even with the lower price tag on 2K5, which is what was starting to draw people away, like, I didn't go for it for some reason.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I thought you would have played at least sometime over the years or picked it up. We'll have to look for it if we go to a store today.
Yeah.
Just for you. I have it. We could play too, but we need a copy for you.
Yeah.
And we had Vito. I had Vito send me a few games that he thought were some of his favorite sports games. So this is no general order. This is MVP Baseball 2005 he has on there. Which
that was a good one.
I never played that, so I really didn't play any modern baseball games after like probably PS1.
That one I had on Xbox, the original Xbox, and I think it was like the first baseball game I really played since Ken Griffey back on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, yeah. See, so that's the thing is I don't think MVP Baseball even exists anymore, right? It's just the show.
No, that was EA's version was MVP Baseball.
That's right. Yeah. Vito also had Mike Tyson's Punch Out with also the Wii version of Punch Out.
Oh, cool.
NBA Jam and NBA Showtime, which you and I discovered NBA Showtime a lot later in life, and we regret that we didn't do that earlier.
Right? That was so fun.
Yeah. Tecmo Bowl and Tecmo Super Bowl, NFL 2K5, Madden 2000,
oh, yeah.
All-Star Baseball 98 on N64, and Fight Night Round 2 on the Xbox.
Madden 2000 was the first Madden I played. Like, I'd been Quarterback Club before that, or Tecmo Bowl, and you were the convert at that point. I got Madden 2000 on PlayStation. Yeah. And for some reason, Madden just played better on PlayStation and other systems. Maybe even Sega. It sucked on Super Nintendo.
Yeah. I do remember PS1 really sort of digging its heels in football games, and that's when you get like Game Day. There was another one that was a big franchise on the show. I can't fully remember what it was.
Xbox had Fever.
Yeah, it had NFL Fever. But on PS2, like Madden 2000 was a big deal, and of course we'll talk about 2001 as well because that was also a huge deal, I think, too, because it was the first one on PS2. So thank you, Nick and Vito, for your list. I think both of those are really fun lists. Nick loves football and Tony Hawk, from what I can tell on that list.
Yes.
Pretty great. Yeah. All right, Ducey. Should we present our Mystic Cuts or kind of briefly go through those before we get to our top 10s?
I was thinking about that because then
kind of like quick fire these things.
As listeners hear them, they're going to be like, how is that not on the list?
Yeah.
At least for mine.
It'll be fun because these will be like, well, if these aren't on the list, what is? A little bit of mystery there.
I had so many, I could have made a second top 10 list.
I know it's funny. I would say like I think more often than not, I usually have like a longer honorable mentions or miss the cut list kind of thing, right? Than you do because of just whatever I've played or what we're talking about. And this is obviously like one of the fun instances where it's like you have more on there for good reason than I do.
Yep. I'm going to kind of go by eras. I didn't rank these as if they were like 11 through whatever.
Yeah. It's just like whatever we could really think of that
I
we would have included but didn't.
Timeline wise. So my first two that missed the cut, they got really close. Tecmo Bowl, the original, and Bases Loaded, both on the Nintendo. I've talked about Bases Loaded before on some of our past episodes and how I just remember playing it with my dad a lot. And then Tecmo Bowl was the first time I really enjoyed a football game on a console, because before that we had an LJN NFL game that was slow as molasses. And so, yeah, Tecmo Bowl was fun and arcadey.
Yeah.
Then moving into Super Nintendo, there was ESPN Speed World, which was like, it was NASCAR, but without the NASCAR license. It just had ESPN commentators and stuff playing stock car racing. That was really fun. I rented that a few times. Tiny Toons Wacky Sports Challenge.
I remember this one.
This
I
was
very much remember this one.
So fun for some reason. They were just a bunch of mini games, and it could be 4-player if we had the multi-tap.
Mm-hmm.
Then moving on. Oh, NBA Jam was also on Super Nintendo. I played that a lot on that one more than any other system.
I will say that's one I'm surprised wasn't on your list. So even for me, when I was reading through this, I was like, wow.
So this one and the next one, NFL Blitz, are both on my list because I loved them and I had so much fun playing them, but mostly as a multiplayer thing. I didn't really play them too much on my own, and I'm an only child, so yeah, I didn't play them too much on my own. And then I know this is going to be on your list, or at least on your missed the thing, but Nagano Winter Olympics 98.
I was almost close to putting this somewhere on my list, but I was just like, oh, it's sports, but there's probably other sports games that I probably could fit on my list more. But yes, this one I also put on my list for good reason. I love this game.
We are the last two champions of this game.
I don't know. It's funny because I'll watch videos on YouTube and people usually, they aren't totally dismissive. They don't like crap on like it's the worst game ever, but they do not have the fondness that you and I obviously do. And it's always funny to me when I just see someone just kind of like review this with such sort of like a mediocre tone. It's like, no, this game is freaking fantastic.
We could play this right now. We could stop recording. We'll play it.
And it's like, we'll forget the controls and laugh when we start stumbling off the like the ski jump or whatever. It's always a great time. I love this game.
The next one, everybody's gonna gasp and clutch their pearls. I put Tony Hawk's Pro Skater on my Miss the Cut.
I knew this was gonna be on your Miss the Cut because I just didn't think it was like your game.
Yeah,
it makes sense to me.
But it was. I mean, back then I played it a ton. I borrowed it from you,
and
I rented it, I think, and I really loved it. But like, yeah, I'll have another reason for why it's not on the list later. Kart Fury, that was an IndyCar game, but it was by Midway, so you know it's going to be bonkers.
I put that on my list as well because that was one you rented, again, because there's a couple games on my list that you rented that I got to discover, and Kart Fury was one that was, I don't know if this came out after Burnout, maybe it was before, I don't know where it falls in that timeline.
It was in the PS2 era, so
it could have been, around Burnout time, but this is Burnout with kart racing.
Yeah.
It's really insane. Like, it's on the level of Burnout as far as like the levels and the design and everything like that, but it is brutally fun. It's dirt cheap too.
Another Midway great was NHL Hits 2003. This was the Blitz version of hockey.
Yeah, very good game.
I also put SSX Tricky on here. This was like the one SSX game that I spent a ton of time on, and weirdly, I had it on GameCube, so like the control is odd for it, but I made it work.
Yeah.
Also, we're moving into the modern times, and I put Rocket League on here as sort of a bonkers surprise type of thing, where
it's kind of like soccer. I mean, it is soccer. Yeah,
soccer with cars. And they even had like a NASCAR pack at one point. I also just put on Retro Bowl because our listeners have heard me praise this. I've gotten a few of our friends hooked on it as well. It was like a nice throwback to Tecmo Bowl, but even with like more pixelated graphics. Yeah, I just have played so many seasons in that, more so than any other like football game. And then in the 25s, I have Top Spin 2K25 because it's gotten me back into Top Spin games.
That one was really good. Did you get that before me? I don't know how I think we just looked it up.
You got it right before me.
Oh, okay, that's right. Because
I played it here,
and then it convinced you because we hadn't played Top Spin in a long time, but that one is really great.
And then F125, which is probably going to make a different list in a future episode.
Yeah. So for my missed the cut list, this one was very close to being number 10. This is basically 11. It's Ken Griffey Jr.'s Ken Griffey Jr. presents MLB Baseball. Really great game. We'll get more of that a little bit later because it is on your list, and I think that's a fantastic choice. Mario Tennis on Game Boy Color, specifically the Game Boy Color version, because while I did love the N64 ones, I played those a ton, like the Mario Golf, Mario Tennis at your house. The Mario Tennis on Game Boy Color is a totally different game that actually can connect to the N64 one and take your created character and stats and everything to play in there, which I thought was a really great feature.
Yeah, the Game Boy Color one is straight up an RPG.
It's a full-on tennis RPG, and it's so freaking fun. It's on the Nintendo Switch Online app right now. I think my brother got this just on a whim, and then we ended up loving it. Actually, I loved it more than he did because it was an RPG. Like,
yeah.
He enjoyed it, and then like I enjoyed the RPG sort of story aspect to it.
I think you built up a pretty strong character and put it onto my Mario Tennis cart.
I did, because I played
N64.
this a lot. It's a really underrated tennis game in my eyes.
I remember my dad was playing the N64 version one time, and then he came across your guy. He was like, Don? Who's this Don guy?
It's like, do you know him? Come on. He comes over every Saturday. Come on, Bill. Another one that's also was on your list that we talked about, Nagano Winter Olympics 98. I really remember playing this I didn't have many friends in middle school, like I always say, but I went to this friend's birthday party and he had like rented this and I had a ton of fun. I immediately went to the warehouse to rent it. I was like, Deucey, we got to play this. Like this game is amazing. And we were all playing 4-player. It was a great time.
Yep.
The next one is Virtua Tennis on Dreamcast. This was the arcadey side of tennis because it has like Sega's spin and flavor on it. So of course I loved it. Kart Fury you talked about. One that's a little bit more modern, Golf Story. I don't know if you got to play this one, Deucey.
Oh yeah, I had that on Switch, the first Switch.
Yeah, it was on Switch. I don't know if it's on other systems, but it's pretty much Mario Tennis on Game Boy Color, but golf. It's basically just has this whole story of you sort of becoming a golf master. Has an RPG system,
which I think wasn't Mario Golf on the Game Boy Color kind of an RPG-ish.
I would say probably.
Yeah,
it makes sense because I'm sure they just carried the format of tennis.
So Golf Story was like, hey, we don't have the Mario license, but you liked that game.
Yeah, I would say it's like a spiritual successor to that, and it's a really, really good one. Also, it's like $10 or something. It's dirt cheap. A next game that most people probably do not know about is Aggressive Inline. This is the Tony Hawk equivalent, but with rollerblades.
Whoa.
Most people, I don't think, even care for this game. I played it a ton because it was a Tony Hawk kind of game. And also on top of that, I had that on the Xbox, so what made this game even better was custom soundtrack. So I ripped all my CDs on there. So this game was top tier for a while for me. I played through this a lot. Next game is NFL Blitz. This one just missed the cut. Top Spin, just the series in general, because we played that way back on the Xbox when it came out, and that was a great multiplayer game then. And of course, 2K25, like you mentioned, because that is a great sort of return to form. Because I feel like the series fell off for a little bit, like it was up and down, disappeared, and
I remember 3 and 4 got way into the Sims of things
and mini games and stuff.
It got really hard.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then the last game we'll mention on here is the Tiger Woods PGA Golf Series. I was trying to think because we have a modern golf game on our list for good reason, but this one was sort of the original golf game where you really, really got into. We played this one a ton. I think it was it 06?
05, I think.
05 or 06.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where I don't know if we got on Xbox or where it was, and we ended up getting the next one, and it was so fun because, again, sort of, it was definitely more sim, but also had some sort of arcade elements, like with the shot put, or excuse me, the putt cam.
Oh, there was also
Game Breaker.
Yeah, I could just say Game Breaker and make a lot of friends.
Yeah,
mad.
right. So it had that aspect, which completely broke the game, but it's also kind of funny because it's Tiger Woods too.
Yeah.
So that series, while I didn't play the earlier games, that like 04, 05, whatever that was, like that mid 2000s Tiger Woods games, peak multiplayer for me. All right, Deucey, so now we can get to our top 10. So I guess we could talk about the one that we had on both our lists properly here at number 10. It's Looney Tunes B-Ball for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I put this on here. I just knew when we talked about this topic, this had to go on my list somewhere because it was the first thing that popped into my head, even before a bunch of Maddens or NBA 2Ks or anything. For some reason, this one has always stuck with me. I even just recently, as I was walking to work, got the menu music stuck in my head. Mm-hmm. And I haven't played this in I don't know how many years.
Probably decades.
Yeah, but I do just remember the start of it and everything. And I also, it's on number 10 because I played it a ton, but I never seemed to get past like the third pairing of guys. It got hard quick.
It got really difficult, and if you're not familiar with this game, it was released February 95, somewhere around there, and it's interesting because it was developed by Sculpture Software, which we talked about a lot on this podcast as far as like the ports for like Mortal Kombat on Super Nintendo and a ton of different games they've ported and created. And this is sort of like a kiddier version of NBA Jam, except it actually has some really cool elements to it. So it's like on the court, you'll see like gems strewn about all over the place. They kind of spawn, and then you collect those gems, and you enter a button combo, which activates sort of like what's basically like a cheat code right then and there. It's some sort of boost for you or a detriment to your
well, there's like a little down by your faces, your character's faces, which represent your turbo meter. There was like a little store, and you could buy like a bomb or a pie or something, or a jackhammer that causes an earthquake. And then there's like different price tags for those. And then you activate them, and suddenly like the ball will become a pie and get slammed into your opponent's face. Or the ball will turn into a dog and run away from everybody.
Yeah, I was going to say, so when you get to a point where the shot clock runs out, and I forgot what the other instance is, but yeah, the dog, like, he unrolls himself into like this bulldog, and he zips around the court, so someone has to go grab him. So it really just leans into the zaniness of Looney Tunes, which is why this game is so successful with it. And also, each character sort of has, not sort of, but they have different stats, and also different special moves. So it's like, I think once you collect a certain amount of gems, they have like a special shot, which usually it's tuned to like their stats. So like I remember Yosemite Sam had this one where like he just bounced it halfway. He'd smack the ball against the court like halfway down, and he'd try to sink the basket to get a 3-pointer because he was good at 3-pointers.
There was somebody did one, maybe that was Yosemite. If you were closer to the basket, he would jump up and ride the ball into the basket while shooting his guns.
Oh, that was one of his dunks, because he all had sort of like dunk moves like NBA Jam, where like they all had like something that would sort of emphasize the personalities. Like Wile E. Coyote would jump into it like he's diving into a pool, like he would dive through the hoop. So this game has all the Looney Tunes charm, but it's like NBA Jam mixed with it, and it's really good. I almost didn't put this on my list. I was telling Deuce I was like flip-flopping between this and Ken Griffey, and the more I thought about Looney Tunes, the more like I enjoyed it because of all the the times we played it, how crazy it is with like the pickups and like all the items, and also it's 4-player. We played that at least once, which is really cool. It's pretty uncommon for a lot of Super Nintendo games, and this sort of like an underrated gem in my eyes because most people I know don't talk about this game.
Yeah, it's weird. When there was a Space Jam game on PlayStation that we did play a lot, but this was the better version of Space Jam.
Yeah, the Space Jam should have ripped off so much of this game. Like they sure leaned into like the zany cartoon stuff, but it really did nothing with it. It just had some like dunks, and it just wasn't nearly as fun as which sucks because it's on a newer system, better hardware. And yet, I would gladly play Looney Tunes V-Bomb more than anything else.
In fact, we have played that one more recently than anything else than Space Jam.
Yeah, it's still a fun game. It's a little bit slower these days, but it's a really fun time. All right, Ducey, let's go to, you want to start with number 9 on your list here?
Oh, okay. I paired these together, even though they're two different sports, but I always seem to get these together on every system. And it's Mario Golf and Mario Tennis. And that's the N64 versions, then the GameCube versions, and I don't know if Wii or anything had those, but
I always forget because you and I always think like, did they make a Mario Baseball for XYZ or this?
Yeah.
And you find out, there's one like on the Wii U. There was like 3 on the Wii, so it's possible. I would wager they did.
And then they made a kind of a return on the Switch. They had the Mario Golf and Mario Power Tennis, which wasn't as great, but I'm looking forward to the one on Switch too.
Yeah.
I just put these on here because of all of the multiplayer aspects, and like, I remember I played Mario's Tennis on the Virtual Boy, and I really enjoyed that concept because I liked tennis at the time, but I didn't want a Virtual Boy just for that.
And then when play mine for 5 minutes and be like, yep,
now I have a headache.
Yeah.
But when it came out for N64, oh man, they were like instant. I'm pretty sure I asked for them on Christmas time and got them together. And then it sort of evolved, like when we had friends over, instead of Mario Kart and GoldenEye, we sort of morphed into Mario Golf and Mario Tennis for some reason.
I think it's just a little bit more accessible because Mario Kart, like, I always played it a ton, but the sports games were also just a different flavor of things. And also, like, it was really cool to see all the animations and everything. And of course, it was another game that we had to play with your mom, which was always a fun time because then I would lose Donkey Kong because she owns a house. I can't argue with that.
And Mario Golf, I played a lot with both of my parents. Like, we would have 3-player battles at night, and there was a point where we even like figured out our own handicaps because the game took that into account. If you put in your character's handicap, then you would get that help along on the courses. And yeah, we just had a ton of fun with that. We had almost whole mini tournaments and kept track of our scores and like how each of us was doing and things like that. It's just a memory I'm going to keep with me for a long time. And like I said, I'm really looking forward to Mario Tennis on Switch 2, and hopefully they think of a new Mario Golf game too.
Yeah, I hope they do a better job, because while the what was it was Mario Soccer on Switch and Mario Tennis and even Mario Golf, they were just fine games. They just did not have the longevity like the I feel like these other ones probably did when we were younger.
Mario Golf on Switch was better than the other two because
I think that was my favorite of the three by far.
They incorporated the RPG elements from the Game Boy times.
Yeah, and they did have those cool modes like where everyone's kind of like free running through and right. So it had more of like what represented the old Mario sports games. But I hope Tennis 2 is better. It looks better, way better than the Power Tennis one, where it was called on Switch 1. Because I don't know, I just fell off. I was like, this is like just it's good, but it's kind of basic. Yeah, it's just basic tennis. And then the soccer one was the same. It was just basic soccer.
And even the Mario Golf on N64 was kind of basic golf. Like it wasn't even with a swing stick. You had to hit the button 3 times, and you didn't have like weapons or anything to attack your other players, which is probably why my parents really got into it, because it was just another golf game on Nintendo.
Yeah, it's just a simplified golf game, which is better than playing like it's a little bit easier to get into than like a Tiger Woods or where else was big at the time.
Yeah.
My number 9, Deucey, is NHL Hitz 2003.
Nice.
So this one, I don't think I had played too many NHL games up to this point, or at least I hadn't played many. Like I played like some of the sim ones, like I think it was just like NHL 98 or something like that. And then I found this one. I remember I found it like Target for like $7 on clearance. I was like, well, why not? We'll get it on Xbox. And I played it. I was like, wow, this game is way more fun than I anticipated, because it's really Blitz, but with hockey. You can get on fire. Like you have sort of mascot teams where you're playing as like literal sharks.
Yeah.
Or, like, I forgot what else
the
is
Ducks.
in there. The Ducks.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has a great early 2000s nu metal soundtrack, which spoke to me. It had like Rob Zombie, and it had like the one Hoobastank song I liked.
I think it had didn't have like Power Man 5000 or
it
something
did,
like that.
yeah. So it was all right up my alley. And I remember bringing it to your house. It was like, hey, like, Deuce, this game's actually really, really good. And we ended up playing it, and you enjoyed it just the same too.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't remember playing really even sim NHL games up to this point.
Yeah, right. I feel like it's we really just only played like the football, baseball, stuff like that. We are in boxing and everything else, but hockey was just never our forte necessarily. Like I might have played a Genesis one way back in the day, and then once I got hits, I was like, well, damn, I think I like hockey games now. This is really fun. So it's a great time. I wish there was more sort of Blitz style hockey games, because I would definitely buy them, but it's just not a priority these days.
I feel like 03 was like the last hits they did. Maybe there was an 04.
Well, because after that, I think they went to pro. They tried that.
Yeah.
Where it's like it blurred the lines a little bit more between sim and arcade. Where this is like full on just arcade. Like you're smashing people against the glass. Like you're
smashing them through the glass.
You're encouraged to hit them. There's even like a fighting mini game. I think it was like rock paper scissors. I can't remember how it was. So it's just all the madness of Blitz in the arcade, but made for the home. Consoles.
I think it was also like 3-on-3 instead of 5-on-5.
Yeah, it was 3-on-3, and then they had like I think it was like a thunder mode where it's like everyone gets like souped up with more abilities, basically on fire. And there was even like a franchise mode in here. There was like it was pretty robust for what it was, because they knew they couldn't just make an arcade hockey game. They had to add more to it.
Yeah, I remember getting this later on in life for PS2, and then I ended up playing an entire season of it. They didn't really have too much carryover. It wasn't like multiple seasons, but you could go from start to finish and then go into the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, it's a really fantastic game. I hope there's another one. I would like to try to play NHL Hitz Pro, but 2003, this one was an easy one to put at number 9 for me.
Yep.
Your number 8, Deucey.
Number 8.
This is a good one.
Is the reason Tony Hawk is missing the cut, and that is Skate.
Yeah, Skate is really fantastic.
And I didn't realize how much I liked this until recently when the Tony Hawk remakes came out, and I was trying to play those, and I sucked horribly at them. And I'm like, what is going on? And it's because I have so much muscle memory from Skate that I just couldn't switch back into Tony Hawk mode. And then it ended up making me go into Game Pass and downloading one of the Skates and playing that again. And I just had so much fun with that one. I really liked the open world aspect that they did, and the fact that you're like this up-and-coming skater that is going around to different parts of the city and then trying to film himself to get himself into the magazines and get himself onto YouTube clips or whatever they had at the time, and it just was a more interesting aspect. Like compared to this, Tony Hawk is almost like a Midway arcade version of skating.
It is. It's or like an EA big game.
Yeah.
By comparison. Yeah. I probably should put this on my Missed the Cut list because I loved Skate 1. I played a lot of Skate 3. I didn't play Skate 2 for a reason. I don't know why. I just missed that one.
I feel like I did 1 and 2 more than 3.
Probably.
Yeah.
That would make sense. But I really love this game because this is sort of not sort of, it really is the opposite of Tony Hawk, where everything's a little bit more grounded, and you really have to sort of calculate like what trick you're going to do, because this also employed the right stick for all of your moves. So it's like to kickflip, you'd pull it back and and click it forward. You'd swing like a quarter circle from right to up to do like a heel flip or something. And I love that because it goes to like Fight Night and whatnot, which I'll talk about somewhere on my list as well.
Yeah,
but I really loved it. I almost regret not putting this on my top 10 list, but there was just like, again, like always, there's always like the other games that just kind of nudge it out. But I love how this is like the sim version of Tony Hawk, because way back in the day, I don't think you played this one, but there was a Thrasher Skate and Destroy on PS1.
I remember that name, yeah.
Yeah, so that was supposed to be like the grounded Tony Hawk, but it was actually made by Rockstar, even more fun than that.
Wow.
But it's like, it was really clunky. It was really fun, but it didn't have any of the magic that Tony Hawk had or the accessibility. So it was almost a bit of a chore to play. And Skate is what I wish Thrasher was. Thrasher's, I think, I think Thrasher wishes it was Skate in some sense, the word, where it's like they tried to do a grounded, realistic skateboarding game, but they kind of missed the mark. And it took until, I don't even know when Skate came out. It was like 2008 or something.
I was going to say 7 or 8.
Right? 7 or 8. So we didn't get a realistic skate game that was good until then.
One of my favorite things, too, at the time, remember Rob and Big were huge.
That's right. Yeah,
and
it was also sort of like in the zeitgeist of that with Rob Dyrdek and everything.
Yeah, and he ended up in the game, too. It was like, oh, we got to work towards the end of the game to get to see those guys.
Yeah. All right, my number 8 is an unexpected game that I almost didn't think about until I saw on your list, Stussy. It's PGA 2K21.
For sure.
This is a really, really fantastic golf game. It's I can't exactly say like how realistic of a game it is. I know it's more on the simulation side, right? But I don't know. It's not. You cannot tune how difficult it is. But for us, this is prime pandemic time. This was out August 2020. I want to say I got this at like a buy 2 get 1 free deal at Target. And I just sent you guys the copy or met up with you guys. I forget how that happens.
It was this one because it was paired with, or you paired it with. It wasn't
Cold War, right?
Yeah, with Black Ops Cold War.
Yeah. So
I can't remember if we had been playing it before or if you were just like, hey, let's give it a shot.
I think I had heard how good it was. I can't fully remember. I just was on a whim. I was like, we haven't played a golf game in a long time. We did like Tiger Woods, and this is the first game that was supposed to be good after like, was it Rory McIlroy's something?
Yeah,
golf?
He took over on EA. He took over for Tiger Woods.
Yeah, right. So I know they had a bunch of games that weren't very good, and then 2K21 was the first one. I was like, well, let's just jump in.
This was also there was that one, the Golf Club.
That was the one before this one, I think. Yeah,
and I think it was.
I heard that one was bad from Mike,
but it was kind of like the same people. Then they moved over into PGA 2K.
Yes,
and somehow made it better.
Yeah. So this game, it's really fun, and for us, we played multiplayer a ton because this is just a really fantastic game. Where it's like you play, a round of 9 holes or 18, and it's just us kind of, for lack of a better term, shooting the shit because it's quarantine. Everyone's locked up in their houses.
Yeah.
This is the ultimate chill game, and we finally found difficulty that worked for all of us. Like we kind of had to sort of find out like between pro and semi-pro and whatnot. And once we were into that, it became just like the most awesome, fun time. There's so many memories just with this. And I didn't play the single player too much. I played most of like the tournaments that our friend Mike would set up with our golf club, the New Boot Goofers. Yeah. So this one I just have so many memories of. Just granted they're recent, which doesn't matter, but this was just such a fun golf game to play every single time we got into it. There's always something fun happening, whether you miss a shot, you make a fantastic shot. It's just such a great time. This is like the best golf game I think I've played since the Tiger Woods games, I think.
For sure. And I don't have much to say on it yet.
Yes,
but
asterisk yet.
Yeah.
All right, do you see your number 7?
My number 7, this kind of dropped down a little bit while I was trying to think of all these games, but I had to put it on here, and it is NBA Street Volume 2. I mean, Street Volume 1 could have also come on here. They could have been paired together, but this was probably why NBA Jam missed the cut, because Street was just like Jam, but so much more fun solo for me.
Yeah.
And I played this a ton. I think I got it on Xbox, the original, And yeah, I could play it with you guys, or I could do it solo for hours on end, and it was just so much fun. I can't even like begin to state like how much fun it was. It was NBA Jam we hadn't had in a while because of all the licenses and legal rights and everything. So when Street came out, it was just like, oh, finally an arcade basketball game. I don't think I had even really gotten back into sim basketball games yet. So this was just
This was the game.
Yeah, this was a great time to be had, and this was a game that you really liked, so we could actually play a sports game together.
Yeah, exactly. That's really the key thing, which I'll have more to say about this one shortly, because this also made my list.
Yeah.
I think this one's one of the more important ones. For number 7 on my list, I kind of cheated on a couple of these, which is what you did too, Deuce, with like Mario Golf and Tennis, because I'll talk about like what my favorite one is, and also what. Well, actually, I guess you can't really argue which one's better here. But I have Fight Night Round 4, which came out June 2009, and also sort of related to that, I put Round 2 because that was the first one I played as far as the Fight Night series, and that's what again sold me on my love for this game.
Was Round 2 the first one that used the sticks for punches?
I don't know if 2004 did it before that. I can't recall, but it might have been 2. But again, like Ducey mentioned here, is that this also uses the right stick for all your punches. So it was perfect for a fighting game nut like me, where it's like down to 4 might be like a lower hook or something, or like if you swing it from quarter circle down to up, that's like a right hook or like an uppercut or something like that. So for me, this was fantastic, learning all the nuances of like how to bob and weave and everything like that, and like how to dodge people,
how to go high low,
low, and you had full control of that with the control stick. I know it had an option for face buttons, but this game shines with the right stick because it's also just like a great test against whoever you're fighting, the second player, of really just like how well you have the controls, because that's going to ultimately matter. Because if you don't have the correct input, you're just going to do like a jab or miss. Yeah. So you have to commit to knowing your right stick and your movement with this. So this is like an easy choice for me. Round 4 specifically because that's the first one that had Mike Tyson, so that was like a huge thing, right? I loved Fight Night 2 and especially 3, but 4 is also when they kind of refine everything to be a little bit more sim heavy. And I do enjoy boxing. Like I won't pay for a pay-per-view, but I do enjoy the sport of boxing and like watching all the history on it and everything like that. And boxing games for me has always been sort of like my soft spot. It's just a matter of like finding the right one. And Round 4, I put so much time into it. I wish this series would come back because the last one was Champions, and you can play that on Series X now. But outside of that, this series has kind of lost the time more or less. Yeah,
it's crazy with like boxing is making sort of a little bit of a comeback based on like with the TV rights that it's gathering and things. But I remember owning 2, I think, Round 2. I think all of us seem to get it around the same time.
We did, because I think one of my buddies told me about it, and then we played it, or I rented it at Hollywood Video when I worked there, and then I just bought it because we played so much. Like, oh, I didn't know this game was that good.
So yeah, I bought it too and tried to practice and did not get better. But I still had a ton of fun with it. It wasn't like playing a fighting game with you, like a Street Fighter or something, and then eventually just getting fed up and putting the controller down. Like boxing still felt like I had a chance, and like I might win one, you might win one, or I might win against somebody else and have to.
Yeah, and your fighters mattered, and there's also sort of management of your stamina too, because if you just constantly hits, you're just going to get tired, which also weakens you as well for your opponent to take advantage of it too. And also another thing I'll talk about too before we move on to your next one is the presentation of these games as they went on. It just really felt like a true boxing main event, like a huge deal. Like they really got sort of the pageantry of boxing, like a sporting event kind of thing, right? Which I love because that made it a little bit more immersive. Like, it's only as immersive as you can get getting punched in the face. But it just felt like they really tried their best to make like the ultimate boxing game. And it just sucks that I think it's been like 14 years now since Fight Night's been out.
God.
Right? And I know there's Undisputed, which I haven't played, and I've heard like mixed things, and mostly good things, some mixed things, but I want Fight Night. Like that was like just the most greatest boxing series in my eyes.
This it was funny when we were making the list and you asked like, can boxing go on the list? I was like, oh yeah, for sure. I just don't have any on there because I don't have the best relationship with any of them.
I laughed really hard because I initially thought when we were talking about this, I thought it'd be more of like just like like ball sports like baseball, hockey, et cetera. Like not so much like boxing or snowboarding, skateboarding. So that's why I was like, boxing? They're like, oh yeah, I just didn't put them on there because I don't have a good time with them.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well that makes sense.
They
like,
aren't making my top tens at all.
And also, like, you put on your missed the cut list too, so that's why I was like just making sure,
I figured you might put it on there though, so we could talk about it still. But yeah, I still get my ass handed to me.
So there you go. No, so spoiler for the rest of Deuce's list: no boxing games on it.
Yeah.
All right, Deuce, you go with your number 6 now.
My number 6, deja vu here, but it is PGA 2K21.
Yeah.
I put this on here because of what it meant to us at the time. Like, I know Warzone happened right at the start of the pandemic, so we all got back online for that. But then, like, PGA was the very much, like you said, laid back, just hang out with your friends type of game online.
Hey, we have snacks.
Yeah.
Like we always hear each other because we don't mute. So we just hang out. We'd hear someone like chewing on some snacks or ruffling a bag or something.
Bunch of chips crunching around and stuff.
Hey, what you having there, buddy? Yeah.
And I put this one on here more so than 2K23 because this one just felt more ease of access. Like Mike made the golf club, the New Boot Goofers Country Club.
That's right.
And
I forgot that country club part.
Yeah. And he set up these tournaments that we could play on our own or together. The shop was very much wide open to whatever you earned during the matches. You could just go in and buy a new shirt. So I was coming in almost every round with a new fashion sense.
Yeah, and it always be funny because we wouldn't tell each other we're getting like a new outfit for our character, and we go into the lobby to play a game, and we're all just like laughing at each other's like new pants or something stupid,
giant hat or something that we're wearing.
I had like this tie dye freaking looking pants or something like that, like a red shirt. You're like, oh, those are nice pants you got there.
You had a top to bottom like tie dye outfit or something, a bunch of squiggly marks. It looked very 90s.
Yeah.
2K23 sort of like messed that up though because they put a lot of it behind paywalls or like their golf game pass type thing. And yeah, and then we tried to make the country club in that, but by that time we had a lot more regular life to get back into, like weddings and kids and everything.
Yeah,
new was hitting us.
We weren't, like you said, we weren't completely at home 24/7.
Yeah,
like we were in the pandemic, because that's really where this shined. It's like no one's doing anything. One of our friends was out of state as well, so that also helped us kind of keep in contact with him, right?
Yeah.
So this was, again, it's really a great golf game in general, but tied to us and relative to our perspective and memories, it's just that much more impactful. So I think it's great that it's on both our lists for very similar reasons.
And I also did play this a lot of solo play too, because I liked the way they were setting up the career mode to it. You don't really think about that too much in golf games, but this one had an interesting one where you start out in the lower ranks and then work your way up into the PGA.
Yeah, it's really fun. Like, I played a little bit of single player, but this game was just like prime multiplayer for me.
For sure.
It's like when we weren't playing this, I was playing something else, right? So I wouldn't just play golf solo too much unless we did the tournaments, which again were also themed. Like I think we had like the Macho Man something invitational,
yeah.
whatever it was. Like we came with like the dumbest names. It was so fun. Yeah. My number 6. This is again, I kind of cheated here with putting 2 because there's one that I think is obviously the better game. It's just one that it's more relative to me, and that's NFL 2K on the Dreamcast. I've talked about in our launch episode how much I love this game and what it meant to me as far as like being a football game, especially one that's more simulation than I had previously played to this.
Yeah.
But the big game that probably is more on my list, it's NFL 2K5. This was a budget release, which was really incredible. It was out in 2005 or in 2004, July 2004.
Yeah.
This was by 2K. The presentation of this game was just light years ahead of what Madden was doing. Like they got the full ESPN TV presentation. Like they even had like these animated hosts who recapped the game almost in real time of what the replays were.
They had Chris Berman doing a lot of the voice work and recaps.
Yeah. So this, beyond the fact that it just nailed the presentation, like like sort of like a sports broadcast, it played extremely well. It was like some of the most fun I ever had in any football game. And on top of all of it, like I said, it was $20. And unfortunately, EA was like, "Oh, I see that you're selling a lot of those games at $20.
Yeah, you're really dipping into our profits here."
Yeah, because at this point, like Madden had dominated football games for decades at this point, right? Because even before this, even before Madden kind of took their foothold, there was all these smaller football games, like even on the Genesis here, like Joe Montana football.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think there's an ESPN football. So
There's a John Elway football.
John Elway, yeah. So really, until NFL 2K on Dreamcast, that's really the first series that was kind of like nipping at Madden's heels. And then by 2K5, they're really like just taking a chunk because it's like, well, how do you compete with a $20 brand new game that has a season mode, franchise mode, create a team mode, create everything mode,
It's
online play.
it's crazy that all it took was the price tag difference, because Madden 2004, and our friend Nick put it on his list, but like it was kind of regarded as the best Madden at the time.
Even now, I think it's some people regard it as like the best of all
Yeah,
time.
they'll go back to play that. And then 2005 Madden was so huge. I remember this. Green Day debuted American Idiot on the game before their album even came out.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was how big Madden was. But ESPN just priced it a little cheaper, and all of a sudden they were neck and neck. It's crazy how that's all it took. And Madden, instead of saying, well, let's price ours a little cheaper, they were like, no, we're just going to use all our money.
They didn't want to compete anymore.
Yeah.
It was crazy because 2K had been a very consistent series up until then. I hadn't played 4, which I found out was called like ESPN Football or something like that.
Yeah,
it wasn't actually formally called 2K4. I played 2K1 a little bit of 2K2, and they're, you know, I can't state relatively to how good they are compared to like 5, but I know 5 is just like a perfectly sound football game where it really was competing with Madden, and then Madden and the NFL just, I guess, were cohorting or something, and they have an exclusive license, and that's the last NFL 2K game we ever saw. And now in 2025, 20 years after release of this game, Madden has now secured the license with the NFL until at least 2030.
Yep.
And then all these other football games that have come out over time, like there was that All-Star Pro 2K8, which was like that weird sort of like legend-based football game. All these smaller football games don't have the budget, and they end up failing anyway because no one wants to play without an NFL license.
I heard that that All-Star one with all the legends in it, like Jerry Rice and Joe Montana and stuff like that, was really good because it was by the same 2K5 guys. It's just like you said, they didn't have the licenses for their real teams, and that at that time was like what everybody cared about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's just sort of my soapbox moment for NFL 2K. I love the series, especially starting with the first one, and 2K5 is just... It's inarguably one of the greatest, maybe it has to be top 2 best football games ever. I'm sure people could say like 2004 or Madden 2004 and this swap, and that's totally fair. Like it's if not top 2, it's top 5 easily.
Yep.
All right, Ducey. Well, speaking of top 5, we're breaking into your top 5.
Here we go. And we're going to stick with the 2K series, and we're going to go into NBA 2K12.
Was this the one with Jordan?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought, because I looked at your list and was like, I know that one's significant for a reason.
Yeah, this was probably the first one. I might have had 2K10, but this one just did everything even better. And it's one of the last ones I remember that had the great presentation that 2K was known for ever since Football 2005. They had the guys you know from NBA on TNT, now NBA on ESPN, Shaq and Kenny and Ernie, and they would have a pregame show, a halftime show, and a postgame show. And everything just felt so much like you were watching NBA on TV. In fact, at one point, I was playing this, and I was living with Mike, and Mike came in and watched it, and he goes, wait a minute, this isn't a live game. I was like, no, don't you see the controller in my hand?
The NBA 2K games, since like this era, they look absolutely insane. I know it's a little bit more simple, right? Because it's just a basketball court with so many crowd people and whatnot, but it doesn't matter. Like it looks like a live game. It's really incredible.
And just the little notes that they put in, like you'll have your regular announcers behind the desk calling the action, and then randomly, like in the second quarter, they might have a guest join them, and it's like an old player or somebody coming back to talk with them, and then they just like banter like they would on regular TV. I put this one in particular because it was like the last time that they were doing that. Really, they started cutting back on the pregame shows and stuff like that, and this one had I don't know what they called it, but you could play different career moments from Jordan's career.
Oh yeah, probably Showcase. I'm guessing if it's like the WWE game.
Yeah, it's basically that, but for NBA. Mm-hmm. And as you went through, the presentation changed because they had to make it look like the 80s and the 90s. And I was even more impressed with that. That was like, oh wow!
I remember you told me about that back then, and I was really blown away. But I actually need to track this game down because I never got to play it, unfortunately. Because once you told me that, like they'd really had like even the TV production, like they have filters and whatnot that make it look like respective to the era it's from.
Yeah.
Which is like just such an amazing detail. They didn't have to go that far,
Yeah.
obviously, but they did. And I just think that's just one extra layer to make this a little bit more special, especially when you have Michael Jordan on there of all people.
And I have enjoyed 2K25 now because they sort of brought that back where you can go into the Jordan era or even the Bird and Magic era, and the TV presentation is going to adjust based on those two.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
I'd say the only downside, which I mean, it's a common thing with many games today, is just I know the 2K games have a ton of just like microtransactions that try to shove it in your throat, but the good thing, like even for me, it's like you can ignore all that. Like I don't need the customization items and whatever else. Like there's nothing really game breaking behind them necessarily. It's just an annoyance, you know.
I feel like since maybe 14 or 15 they were really starting to get more into that.
Yeah.
And I've ignored it ever since then.
Yeah, I just haven't bothered. Like even like the WWE games are just as egregious with some of the stuff they throw in with the currency, and it's just I can ignore it. It's like it's fine. I don't never felt compelled to spend money on those.
Yep.
The core game is fine. My number 5, Juicy, is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out for the Nintendo. This was October 1987, which is 1987, just to be clear.
Yeah.
So that was 38 years ago, which is crazy. And this game still holds up today. I could pick this up on the Switch or, play it on the Nintendo. It is just so fun because it's just such a simple box game. You don't have any movement necessarily. Like you're not like, kind of, we'll say dancing with your opponents.
You're not running around the ring like Mayweather.
Yeah, you're just sitting behind Little Mac. You're fighting another fighter. You have to sort of look at their patterns, look for openings on when to hit them because you have, you can dodge and you have limited punches and jabs and whatnot. But the idea is like most of the enemies have some sort of sweet spot or like knockout point if you kind of watch it. And you get to the end with Mike Tyson, which admittedly I haven't beaten before. Like I've gotten close, which means I might have knocked him down once or twice. Yeah. But it is one of the most brutal challenges, but it's also so fun because that is the point where you really have to look at the tells, like even down like the crowd graphics, which this is a Nintendo game, so it's already hard to do naturally.
It's probably a little easier on our HD TVs.
I think
now.
it is. Plus, you have a bigger screen, so
Yeah.
it's like it's probably related to like the flashes. I think like he blinks or his eyebrow moves or something like that.
Isn't there like somebody in the audience that blinks a certain way too?
I believe so.
That'll
There's certain
tell you?
tricks like that too. But it is such just a simple boxing game, and yet it's just you'll have so much fun playing this game. I even played Super Punch Out last night on Switch while I was like just kind of unwinding before bed. And even that one, I don't think is as good as this game. It's still really fantastic. It's just as simple. It's just a little bit different. But even that game just has like just an incredible sense of boxing in a way because it's sort of the movements and like how you kind of have to plan your spots where you're hitting. That one takes things a little bit more crazier, right? Because you have like giant enemy sprites and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I go back to Mike Tyson's Punch-Out on the NES, and that is just like my other favorite boxing. Like Fight Night Round 4 and the Fight Night series is like 1A. This is like 1B or 1AB. I don't know what you want to call it, but these are top 2. I could play them anytime.
I can't remember the first time I played this. I don't know if it was over at your house when we were little or what, but I had always heard the name and I'd always seen like the cultural relevance to it. And then I didn't really get into it until it was on Switch, on the Switch Online. And even
man, I know it had been that long.
Yeah. And even
crazy.
then I can barely get past the like amateur rounds. I know what the tells should be, and then I still can't execute.
Yeah, I just love everything about this game because also I'm a huge fan of the Rocky movies, and that kind of relates to that because you have like your trainer who's sort of like the we'll call it like a parallel to Mickey.
Yeah,
and like your little Mac, and you're like he has like the pink hoodie or sweatsuit on like Rocky would, except Rocky had a gray one. It's just such a fantastic game, and I think I'm sure a lot of people will put this like on their top 5 lists or anywhere on their top 10 lists.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely one of the best boxing games ever made.
Especially for retro games in general. It doesn't even have to be sports.
Yeah, and I will say too, like a lot of Nintendo games, we talk about a lot of the ones we love, and some just don't hold up as well. Not the ones we always talk about, but there's some games that hold up better than others, and this one, thanks to its simplicity, holds up. You could play it today and just easily jump into it.
Yep.
It might be hard, but you'll enjoy your time with it.
It's the Nintendo hard.
Yeah, the Nintendo hard. All right, do you see your number 4? This one, very good choice. I think this is a solid one that, like I said, missed mine, but I think it's a good spot for yours.
Yeah, this was another one like Looney Tunes B-Ball where when we mentioned this list, I was like, nope, this is definitely going on here.
Yeah.
And it is the Ken Griffey Jr. presents Major League Baseball. This was probably the first baseball game I played with the actual teams. Not so much the actual players. Some teams had the actual players, some didn't. Like I always played as the Cardinals, and for some reason they were always comedians.
Comedians.
Yeah, they were. You could see B Cosby.
Yeah.
and then you could see
That
like
one doesn't age well.
No, you could see H Marks
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and I was just like, huh. But I just really enjoyed the accessibility of this game because before this, I just had Bases Loaded on Nintendo, which was, you know, some fun, but also kind of hard. And if you played it on single player, the CPU felt like it would cheat sometimes. But this was, like I said, very accessible. I didn't mind if I lost a game, but I could probably win a lot of the games. And I didn't mind if there were 162 games in a season. I wanted to play through all of them on this game. And yeah, I just really enjoyed the presentation of it all, like down to when you strike out and the batter yells at you for playing badly. He's like, "Oh, come on!" Or he just snaps the bat over his leg or something like that. And then I think I really only rented this a couple times, and then I borrowed it from any friend that had it. And I feel like we played it a lot.
We did, because I was telling you before, I was trying to remember how I came across this game because I rented it. I know I did that for sure, but it's like, I told you, it's like when I was like 9 or 10, where it was, I wouldn't have really thought to rent a sports game like this necessarily unless I had to have played it. And then you were like, well, you probably said you rented it first, and that's like it would happen. I played your house. I was like, wow, this is way more fun than I anticipated. Because even I enjoyed it. I think for me, that's sort of like the barometer of like a sports game is how easy to get into, is that this wasn't really difficult to understand. It was really fun and felt like you could succeed without having to know too much about baseball, which was the big thing for me. And also, I think one of the challenges, at least when I've seen certain baseball games from back then, is that they always have a hard time of like player size in relation to like the playing field.
Yes.
Right. So it's like you might have these gigantic sprites, but they look like garbage when they're animated, right? Because they're so stiff.
Another problem that games tend to have back then was like transitioning from the batting to when the ball goes in the outfield, and you have to try to move a guy over to the ball. Whereas this one, it just seemed so natural. I don't know what
it was
they
a lot
did.
more smoother transition, I guess. I don't know what it is. I actually need to buy this game too for myself because I haven't played it in a long time.
Oh, I thought you had it.
I should have. It's one of those things where I probably don't actively look for it, and I just forget to think about it. Right. So if we go out today, I'll probably just browse and see that it exists. Yeah, because this is a really fantastic baseball game.
It's usually everywhere until you're looking for it on purpose.
Exactly, which happens to us all the time.
This one and Looney Tunes B-Ball were some of the first two games that I knew I had to get when I started getting like disposable income. I was just like, I remember these from when I was little. I'm just going to look for them on like eBay or something online before they get ridiculously priced. And this was also before the retro game collecting
before it
craze.
came trending and all the cool kids started making all of our games expensive.
Yeah.
For us people who actually like these games.
Yeah.
Let's see. My number 4 should be no surprise. NBA Street Volume 2. You know, EA Big is a big developer for me on PS2 because they really made those larger than life games like SSX, NBA Street especially. NFL Street. Less so NFL Street. I felt that was like the weaker one with FIFA Street.
Yeah.
But for me, I love NBA Jam. So this was, like you mentioned, when you mentioned on your list, this is like the closest we got to NBA Jam for a home console, except way more blown out, way more thoughtful because it's not made for arcades to just sort of take your quarters and become difficult. This was made for consoles, and also it incorporated the trick system from SSX that I love so much, which was using the combination of shoulder buttons. So I love that because, again, it ties right back to like my arcadey Tony Hawk high scoring sense, where it's like I know the combinations I can do. You can rack up a game breaker, which can drastically alter the pace of a game.
And in Volume 2, you could get 2 game breakers.
Yeah, and I remember playing this with you, and it's like once I learned how to do the tricks and stack my game breakers, you're like, oh great, here it is. Like, here comes and ruin the game. But for me, it was perfect because I hadn't played NBA Jam. We didn't play NBA Showtime or any of the games after, I'd say, the N64 era, really. I know they had a couple after that. I can't really recall what they were.
Hang Time and Showtime.
Yeah, we were also late to Hang Time as well. Like, we played it back then, but didn't love it as much. But it's just like I was missing NBA Jam, and this is the closest thing to an NBA Jam. And I would have put this higher, but it's just there's a few other games that were a little bit better than this one.
I will say, I think I mentioned it on my list too. Like, I really enjoyed the single player because of what they made you do, where you made your created guy, and then you went around and you took the pros or their like created cartoony type of people, and you just built a super team out of everybody.
Yeah, and also the art style in this game is really great. It has sort of like this cell shaded look, but it's a little bit more refined. And also, in addition to that, I did love the career mode because it's basically, again, like just sort of like a tournament stack thing where it's like you build up your character, you do like a street ball game with someone else, and I forgot what else you can do. I think you're supposed to like take over the city. For me, this was the peak of the series. I liked NBA Street Volume 3, but I think like the differences in the trick system, and like they made it to where you could stumble or something like that. I forgot what I didn't like about it. I can't remember.
Probably if you did too many of the same trick over and over.
Maybe, I don't remember what it was, but it's just something that didn't stick with Volume 3, even though I enjoyed it. 2 was like I said, it's just sort of like the perfect sequel to 1. It had the game breakers, it had stackable game breakers. It just added more of what I loved from 1 and made it a much better game. All right, Juicy, we're cracking top 3 right here.
Okay, podium finishes now.
Here we go.
This one, I don't think people really think of it when they talking classic sports games.
They should. This is this should have been on my list, and I'm glad you put on yours because it's a great spot on number 3.
Yeah, on number 3, I'm going to say Wii Sports. That's it.
That's it.
Just Wii Sports.
It's all sports.
Also, Wii Sports Resort, the follow-up to this, where they expanded on some games and they put in a bunch of other different sports to it. But this one, in general, just I've talked about it before, especially in the launch episode. It was just a great time for me and my family and friends. Like, we could have house parties at this point, and people would come over, and even drinking a bunch of beer, we would still want to play tennis or something on the TV. And I mean, it doesn't have a career mode. It doesn't have anything that we've talked about in these other games.
It's almost just sort of like a glorified tech demo in a way for the Wii, because they just does the motion controls so well. And that's all it is. It's just stock games with just all the standard rules, but that's all you need.
And all it does is it kind of keeps your high scores, like whoever got like a perfect game on bowling or a really low score in golf.
I remember that. Yeah, because it's like it's your parents on there.
Yeah. But that's all you needed. You would just spend hours and hours with this and not go anywhere with it, but you still wanted to play more.
Yeah, it's a really great game. This is also one of the most mainstream on this list by far, just because of how much the Wii took over when it came out and just sold. I still think it's one of the, I don't know if it's top 3, top 5 best-selling systems ever, and technically that means Wii Sports is one of the greatest games ever sold because of how many the Wii sold. Because this was a packing game, which really wasn't common at this time either. Like, they stopped doing packing games around N64 and PS1.
Yep.
And most systems didn't do that unless you find like a bundle. So Nintendo went back to the roots, rightfully so, and this was the way you sell a Wii, and it was the perfect game for the Wii.
Now, what they didn't pack in was like the nunchuck or anything
That's right.
else you might
they're like,
need.
hey, you want to switch off or you want to get more?
Yeah.
Go buy more of these $40 nunchucks or what they cost. I think it was like 40, and then you had to get like the other part that was like 20 or something like that. I forgot what it was. Yeah. My number 3, it's a classic. It's NBA Jam Tournament Edition, and this one I'm going to call out specifically the Genesis version. I can't remember why I bought this. I want to say because it was dirt cheap, and my dad was just like, well, it's like $10. Because I remember buying it. We were at the warehouse again.
You never rented it or saw it?
No, I just bought it on a whim.
Wow.
I think because I don't know where I heard about basketball, or I don't know if there was like basketball on the news, or where it was. There's something about basketball in my childhood mind.
Well, I mean, Michael Jordan was tearing it up at the
I
time.
guess, but I wasn't really like following that too much, right? And then it's just, this was cheap. My dad bought it for me, and I ended up loving it more than any other sports game before this, because it was so fun for me. I didn't have to know much about basketball. I just had to run to the hoop, do a crazy dunk, and if I did that 3 times in a row, I was on fire.
Just don't goaltend.
Yeah, just don't goaltend. My buddy Alex would play with me all the time, and what we discovered through magazines was all the cheats it had, which also made the game even more fun. They were kind of like modifiers. So what we would do is we'd play with hotspots, which adds like these random score values around the court, and you weren't the court. So it's like basically if you shot from there and you sunk the basket, you get 6 points wherever it is. So it would drastically change the game. But on top of that, you could add dunks from anywhere. So what me and Alex would do is turn on hotspots. So it's like I'm like literally across the court scoring 3 points, doing like a fire dunk across the court. It is absolute madness, and
Awesome.
This is really what made me fall in love with sports games, I would say, because not fall in love like with every game, but it would actually
Arcade sports games.
Arcade sports games. It's what sold me on the fact that like I can enjoy these games without loving the actual sport themselves. And I'll really start with MGM Tournament Edition because this was the first game I were playing so much with friends.
And this belongs on top 10 lists of any sports game in general.
Yeah.
I know it missed the mark on mine, but I respect what it did for basketball, for arcade sports games. I mean, without this, I don't think we would have a Blitz or a Hits or anything.
Yeah.
And to think about like,
or even a Street, really. I mean, they are influenced in some way by NBA Jam.
And to think about like how it went into mainstream culture with the announcer and his Boom Shakalaka.
That's right. He's a huge part of the game. Tim Kritzkow, I think his name is.
Yeah, with just a Boom Shakalaka or he's on fire. People are always saying he's on fire for any other type of sport or thing. Like you could be playing beer pong and you say, I'm on fire. That sort of thing. Like it really did a lot, and it deserves to be up here in the sporting museum.
Yeah, the Hall of Fame of video games for sure.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I think maybe some people don't consider with some of these arcade games is like they purposely the game design, graphic design, all that stuff that goes into development and like the creation of this game and what makes the game. But one thing they also were conscious of is the sounds, because the idea is like when you're in an arcade, you want to hear those distinct sounds, right? So it's like you could hear Mortal Kombat, like the uppercut or something, or you'd hear like Killer Instinct when you hear Combo Breaker or something, or Ultra, or some sort of call out for the combos.
With Mortal Kombat, it was the get over here.
Yeah, the get over here. And like you said with this, like you'd hear Tim Kritzkow shouting out all these catchphrases.
Yeah.
You're like, what is that? It almost sounds like a real game going on.
They even went down and got like the shoes squeaking on the court.
Yeah, all those little details.
Yeah.
And like this, again, like for someone who's not in sports, this is like the perfect sports game because it's easy to jump into. It's only a couple buttons and like a turbo, just shoot, pass, and turbo.
Yeah.
It just, again, it's like the sort of essence of arcade games and the simplicity of them. And they transmogrified the long, basketball, was it like 3-4 hours for like a regular game if you were watching on TV?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right? Or even if you're playing like a simulation game, it's still like 15, 20 minutes. This is like a quick session. You can finish a game in like 4 minutes or something.
The one thing I never knew about growing up, and this applies to Blitz as well, is like in the arcade, you got to pay for every quarter.
Yeah, so that's the thing is I think you have to pay literally every quarter or a quarter for a quarter almost for this. So it's like you'd pump in your 50 cents, and then if you want to continue next, you have to probably put another quarter or something like that too. So I know this made a ton of money because obviously, like you said, there's like a Blitz and all these other arcade games that were influenced after the fact. But how crazy is like if you do want to play a full game of basketball, it's probably going to cost you, I don't know, we'll say like 75 cents to $1 because you're going to want to finish the game. So if you're competing with someone in real time there, right? Like if you have someone on the second set of controllers, you're going to want to beat them. So you can't just quit halfway through.
Now that's when you just a gentleman's agreement to be like, we're going to halftime.
Yeah, we're at halftime. I'm out of quarters.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom won't give me anymore. Yeah, NBA Jam Tournament Edition, just absolute classic. You're number 2, DC. I'm glad you put this on your list because, frankly, I was wondering where you'd put this on your list because even for me, I was watching you play this game. I was like, this has to be on here.
Yeah. Yet again, another one that I knew I had to put on this list. I just didn't know where it was going to go. It was kind of flipping between 1 and 2 and even 3 at some times. This is NFL Quarterback Club 96 for Super Nintendo specifically. This was probably the first football game I had that had all the real players and all the real teams. Before this, I had only been playing the LJN NFL and Tecmo Bowl on my Nintendo, and I don't know what made me get this. I think I rented it because it was the first edition that was going to have the Panthers and the Jaguars. They were new teams at the time.
I didn't even know they were that new of a team.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so this was going to be the first game to have them, so I decided to rent it and then just immediately loved it. And I do remember writing this down on my Christmas list one year. So I ended up getting it for Christmas and then never looked back. I never got another football game. I tried my friend's Madden. I think he had Madden 97 or something for Super Nintendo. It was horrible. It was terrible. So then he would just come over and play Quarterback Club with me. And then I tried Quarterback Club 98 for the N64 and they screwed it up on that. It didn't translate well to 3D.
I was going to ask because I know you've told me before because I was going to ask like when the series started to fall off because it felt like this 96 might have been the peak because even beyond the fact that I was watching you play it, I remember being talked about a lot. Like it was on a lot of systems. Like I think there was a Genesis version and I think the Importables. And it was surprising that it sort of fell off quickly after this because I heard so much about this game and then all of a sudden it withered away and Madden became the main story.
I don't know what they did. This is by Acclaim and Iguana, which we know more for like Turok and things. And maybe that's when they started to focus on Turok for N64 and they didn't care about the sports so much. But I don't know what it was. I don't think it translated well to the controller of N64, the buttons and everything. And then I just think it had like poor hit detection, poor timing with the buttons and everything like
just
that.
A bad football game.
Yeah, it was just not great. And then Madden took over on PlayStation, and that controller felt a lot more. I mean, it was like a Super Nintendo controller then, so it felt a lot more suited for football.
Yeah.
But this NFL Quarterback Club for Super Nintendo, I played multiple seasons. Like, it could go year after year. And I even just recently turned it on to see, and I was looking through my save files, and for some reason there wasn't a Bears save file, which surprised me. Like, I know I played this as the Bears a ton. That was my team, even back in 95, 96. There was like one save file for the Niners and one save file for the Vikings that was 2 years into the future. I was like, into their future.
Maybe someone borrowed it and played as them or something.
Yeah.
49ers sounds like it could be your mom if she played that. I don't think she played this.
No.
Right? Yeah.
But I had friends that were Niners fans too at school. But yeah, this also surprised me. It was a 5-player game.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's really crazy.
You could have the multi-tap in the second control port, and then first player was still first player.
Wow.
And then you could have 5 people. I think one time we played it with 3 or 4 people. But that just gets crazy. That just gets hectic because you're like, no, you do this. No, you got to go over there. No, you got to follow the route.
It's probably not the smoothest thing either on a Super Nintendo, monitoring your characters and where they are and everything.
Yeah, the what do you call it? The plays in this were some of the most advanced that I had ever seen on a game, because Tecmo Bowl, you had 4 to choose from. This one incorporated the YBA system, and when you looked at them, they were like very detailed in what football did. Like, you could have zones, or you could have blitzes. You could see the pass and the run plays like differed based on their colors, and I just remember that's what taught me a lot about football at the time, was getting to see those and saying, oh, this is what you have to do for short yardage. This is what you have to do when you just want to bomb it down the field in desperation. There was also this one cross play that never failed. I don't know if it was programmed this way or if I was just like good at the timing or something, but like, you could go down to 4th down and be guaranteed a first down no matter what. In fact, my friend and I were like, okay, none of these other plays work. Should we just go to that one? Okay.
I was like your fail safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just can't say enough about this game. This was a great football game, and it was a Madden beater back in the day. I bet Madden was probably better on Sega.
Yeah, I was going to say Sega back then definitely had the stronghold on sports games.
Yeah.
Because it's just, for when it had, I felt like it had way more sports games in general, and they were just better.
Yeah.
Like the Super Nintendo ports, if it did have ports, they're usually worse from what it seemed like, just sort of like the general consensus of what I've seen over time. But Sega was like the sports system back then.
Yeah, so it was nice that I didn't have a Sega back then, so I at least had something, and I was definitely a champion for this one.
Yeah. It's great because all the wisdom you learned from that, you got to pass on to me when NFL 2K came out.
Yeah.
It worked out. It's great. My number 2 is SSX Tricky. I really, really, really love this game. I talked about how much I love the original SSX on our Launch Games episode, because that was a game that I unexpectedly love. Again, this is EA Big. NBA is second to this, obviously, but I think the EA Big succeeded the most with the snowboarding games. And this one is just my ultimate favorite, because it took what the first one did, it expanded on it, it added the Uber tricks, it leaned even more into like the crazy characters. So now it's like, one of the characters, when you're doing an Uber trick in air, which basically means like when you fill up your combo meter, your sort of score meter, you do like this crazy super special move. And there's some that's like
defies gravity and physics.
Exactly. It makes no sense. Like one character, I think his name was Simon, he would spin the board around his neck, sort of like a blade.
I remember that one.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's just like talking crap in the middle of it. There was also, I think there was a character named Eddie, who was voiced by David Arquette. So this is sort of emblematic of the early 2000s and how he fits in the mainstream.
Yeah.
And it just had way more tricks. The courses were way more wild. It had like a race mode, and there's also a trick challenge, which I love, where you have to get like certain scores, and there's snowflakes that are score multipliers. It just taps into everything that Tony Hawk did and made it snowboard and even more over the top. So for me, this is an easy number 2. When we were talking about putting sports on here, I was like, well, if we're doing snowboarding, I kind of have to put this up there.
This is like the only snowboarding game I would play. I think I borrowed the first one from you, maybe, but
yeah.
I definitely got this one after playing it at your house, and I never even tried for like 1080 snowboarding or anything like that. Snowboard Kids, that was a fun little like racer type game. But this one was just so much fun to play over and over, night after night. Right off the bat, you knew it was going to be good because they had Run DMC on the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing is, as soon as you go into tricky mode, which means you could do Uber tricks, you hear the song. I would never get tired of it.
Yeah.
I hear that like a million times in a session. I don't care. I love that song.
Yeah, so this was a great one, and it missed my list because I didn't have anywhere to put it. I didn't know like what I could do.
It's hard to put in there. I mean, it makes sense for your list. Like I looked at yours, and obviously it's like I was like, yeah, I could see why he wouldn't put SSX Tricky. And you look at mine, it's like, yeah, I could see why he put SSX Tricky on there.
But I did play this a ton on my GameCube.
Yeah, this was it's one of my favorites. And previous to this, I did play a lot of snowboarding games, but a lot of them weren't good, like you said. Like I enjoy 1080, and it gets a lot of reverence for what it is on the N64, but it's not like a particularly great game. And on PS1, there was Cool Wars, which was good, but it still was not the level of SSX and that sort of level of polish. And even then, it's like the Cool Wars games were still trying to be like kind of sim-like, but they're also like had to deal with hard controls on snow. I think a lot of people didn't know how to program snow controls.
Yep.
So it's also like narrow pathways and narrow courses sometimes. So it's just like it was a bit of a rocky start for snowboarding games.
That's the thing that like SSX did well, I think, for the first time was those branching paths. Even though you're going downhill, it's a one-way trip, but you just had so many different options.
Yeah, and it really felt like you were going down like just a giant ski slope. I know some levels had like cityscapes and whatever else, but yeah, you'd go off those beaten paths and like you'd have like a score multiplier which would add to your tricky meter, or like you'd grind on like a log or a fallen tree that's leaning across, right? So there's all this sort of variety just in the courses themselves that made it even more fun. And on top of all that, the controls were really easy to grasp. Like you could probably pick this game up in 10 minutes and do like ridiculous tricks and combos and flips and whatever else. I would love to revisit this game again because it's just so easy to jump into.
Yep.
And it's just easy number 2 for me. All right, do you see we're at the finale, I should say. We're at number 1. You want to go with your number first? You want to talk about my number 1 first?
Either way, like we can do it, and I think they're obvious for both.
They're obvious for both of us. Yeah, let's go with your number 1 first. Then,
okay,
just to keep the leapfrogging.
It's been mentioned on many other episodes, but this is going to go to NASCAR racing.
Yes,
on the PC of all things, and also I tied it with NASCAR Racing 2002 season, which was just the updated version. Like NASCAR Racing was 94, and then 2002 was my update to it. Like I didn't get anything else in between.
Wow. Well, you didn't get 99 on N64?
No, I did those, but that's EA.
Oh,
like for strictly NASCAR racing.
NASCAR racing. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. That makes more sense. Like, there's no way you bought more NASCAR games then.
And I do enjoy a lot of the console ones. I forgot to put some on my Missed the Cuts. There's like some from EA, like 2002, 2006.
I probably could have put 98 or where one we played was on N64 because it's flirting with disaster or anything.
Oh, that was 98 on 98. PlayStation.
There we go. Yeah. So I probably could put that on my list too.
But for these were the most realistic NASCAR games I could get my hands on, and I just spent so much time on them. And it was a PC game, so I didn't do much PC gaming. My computers could never run the top of the line stuff, but it could definitely run a NASCAR game in MS-DOS mode. Mm-hmm. And I got so into it that my parents even got me the steering wheel and pedals.
Oh, I forgot you had that. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
Here I am hooking this giant steering wheel up to my computer desk and like clamping it on there, and then playing 2 or 3 races in a row with, like, I can't even remember if the wheel had much feedback to it or anything.
I want to say force feedback wasn't a common thing back then. I would be surprised if it had any.
But it was so much easier than playing with the arrows on my keyboard, and control was break.
Yeah, because controller support really wasn't a thing back then either, and it was really just joysticks, which you would not want to play NASCAR with a joystick anyway. I forgot about that bit too. We had to play with the keyboard. Oh my god.
Yeah, I was just huddled over the 3 arrows, and but no, it got even better when I had the steering wheel, and it was like the only racing game that I used a steering wheel on consoles. I would always use controllers or anything. So this just had to go at my number 1, because if anybody knows me, they know back in the day that I was all about NASCAR. I liked it even more than football and baseball and all those other things. I'm like, forget those with those silly refs screwing up everything. I want to do racing. And I mean, 2002 season was also fun because it was very much like the NASCAR racing you saw, where you could go in and customize each driver. You could change the names to friends of ours and stuff like that. It even had a more advanced paint shop. It was like Photoshop at that point, what you could put on these cars. Yeah, I can't say enough about this. This was definitely my number one. I also knew it had to go on my list somewhere, and I was like, well, it just sort of ended up here.
Yeah, I think this one is perfectly appropriate for you. Like when I saw this list, I was like, yeah, that makes absolute sense. Like I would never question why would you put this at this? And I was like, well, if you didn't put this, I would ask you, are you sure?
Yeah,
I feel like it's kind of a guarantee one
you
for
feeling
you.
okay?
Yeah, you all right there? I thought we were doing like sports here. What's going on? Yeah, I think NASCAR racing. I really did enjoy that one, and I played it a little bit on my PC because my PC was worse than yours, so it ran even worse. But I just thought it was so cool with the paint booth, and you can revisit more of it in our top racing episodes, right? We talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Actually, put that on our greatest racing games ever list.
I think I might have even mentioned it on the influential games.
Yes, you did. That's right. That was a little bit
like
further
I
back.
said when I started this, it's been mentioned 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, it's a great game. My number one should be no surprise to you, Ducey. It's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, released September 2000 on the PS1. I was already sold and loved Tony Hawk 1 just on the demo. We did a whole episode way back when about that. So I was beyond excited for part 2, just sort of just waiting for any bit of news I could read, whether it was like a preview in a magazine, just anything I could possibly get on Tony Hawk 2. This is one of the best sequels ever made in my eyes. They took everything from part 1. They made the levels bigger. Everything's a lot more smoother as far as the tricks. They added the manual, which is like a really incredible addition where, Tony Hawk 1, I'd say, is more primarily, it's like street skating as well, like, as far as like grinds and, sort of like navigating the streets. And vert skating is less prominent in there. And in here, they made one way to chain your tricks together while you're on the ground, which is the manual. You just hit down, up, or up, down.
Yeah.
And you sort of like balance yourself on the back or front wheels and, keep your combo going if you're off a rail or anything like that. The soundtrack in here was totally relevant to me in the 2000s. Like Rage Against the Machine was on here. It had like some other hip hop tracks on here. I could probably listen to the soundtrack on its own in a single playlist, just nonstop.
It introduced me to a lot of new stuff.
It did, yeah. That's also like how I got into a lot of music, was
Yeah.
because of a lot of these games that would include these licensed
Tony Hawk
soundtracks.
1 and 2.
Yeah. And 2 added just a lot more, just bigger and better. The goals were a lot more elaborate, and now you could find like cash strewn about the levels, and you're always like, well, how the hell do I get up there? So it sort of encouraged exploration of these levels and showing like how you could do something where like, I think it's like in Philadelphia, you could knock over the gate by grinding like on a light post or something like that. So it sort of like add a whole sort of street park section to this map that you thought was big already, and now it's expanded further. So to me, this is just like the best sports game as far as like, that, as we're defining it today. Like it'd be different. It was just like basketball, hockey, or whatever. That'd probably be like, NBA Jam Tournament Edition at that point. But since we're including the skateboarding games, Tony Hawk 2 was just such a big deal for me when I was a kid. It still is for me now because just I can get into it anytime. It feels like a glove. It's just so easy for me to start doing combos and everything else. It's just like feels like I was 15 all over again.
I think that's why I have a lot of the ones on my list too, is I can get right back into those. Not so much with Tony Hawk, but all the ones else on my list are just like, there's so much muscle memory to it. And just, like I said, I started up the NFL game again, and I was like, whoa, the sound effects, the music, everything just came flooding
like a flashback.
back. And I actually would say Tony Hawk has the same effect on me, like when we played it for our episode on the first one. But just for some reason, my brain is not connecting the way I used to play it.
Yeah, for me, it's because I think it's because I played it so much back then. Like I mentioned on that episode too, where I went through every single character and maxed out their stats just because I could and get 100% in the levels. And I did the same with 2, and it was an even bigger game with more skaters, more specials, more tricks, more everything.
By the end of those, I mean, you could have probably been a speedrunner of that game.
I probably could have. Like, I could do some levels in 2 minutes. So I could get all the goals in a 2-minute run because I just knew them so well. And you kind of look like Spider-Man was an unlockable character at this point because they had done the Spider-Man PS1 game.
Yeah, was that Activision?
It was Activision and Neversoft.
Yeah.
So, it had a ton of Easter eggs. This is the first appearance of Officer Dick, I think. He's like an unlockable character. He's like this fat cop who...
He ran around and like knocked you over, didn't he?
Yeah. He would, and you could unlock him. So it's just, there's so much incentive for me too. And then on top of it, again, it's just like such an easy game to get into and just try to beat my own top score with whatever combos I do. It's just such a fantastic game all throughout. All right, Juicy. Well, we had a pretty fantastic top 10 list and missed the cut list here. I think we had quite a bit of variety here, and I think this episode was really fun for both of us because, like I said at the beginning, it's just we're two polar opposites on the sort of sports spectrum, and yet both these games have a commonality between us that we can both enjoy.
Yeah, we can both come together and then beat each other up in these games pretty equally.
I'd say pretty cool, yeah. And it's great because there's varying degrees of like arcadiness and simulation.
Yep.
And they're all fun. Like I'm not a sim heavy person as far as sports games, but I do enjoy playing them. The arcade ones just hook me longer. That's all it is.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And if anyone out there wants to share their sports games that they love more than anything else, you can reach out by email at legiongamingpod@gmail.com or primarily on Instagram at Legion Gaming Podcast. A little bit on Blue Sky if you want to follow us there. For some reason, there's not many people there, it seems. At least they're not engaging in our stuff, I guess. We're at legiongamingpod.bsky.social. Do you see any final words for our friends who are going to play with their own balls?
Touchdown!